In this episode of Take a Hike, we're taking nature to new heights. I'm WEIU's Lacey Spence, and in today's episode, we'll share why you should visit Forest Glen Preserve.
Take a Hike on WEIU is supported by Rural King, America's farm and home store, camping supplies, kayaks, fishing and pet supplies, and more. Find your store and more information regarding Rural King at ruralking.com.
Hi, I'm WEIU's Lacey Spence. I've lived in Central Illinois my whole life, and if there's one thing I've learned, you don't have to go far to find the beauty of the great outdoors. Come along with me as I visit a variety of parks and natural areas in Central Illinois, and share why you should take a hike to each episode's location. Adventure and fun await in Take a Hike, the mini-series.
Thank you for joining us for this episode of Take a Hike. I'm your host, Lacey Spence, and we are at Forest Glen Preserve today, a beautiful sunny day, and we are joined by Susan Biggs-Warner. And can you please tell us what your title is?
Well, I am one of the educators here, and I'm also the historical interpreter.
Excellent. So we've got a Jill of all trades to walk us through everything Forest Glen. So first of all, what is kind of the history or the background of Forest Glen? What should folks know about it?
Well, we are the oldest park in the Vermilion County Conservation District, and we were formed right after the actual conservation district was formed. In 1966, the district formed, and in 68, Forest Glen started. And we are the original park, and we have a lot of other parks that are in the conservation district, though. Kennecott is a wonderful park real close to Danville, and then we have Heron Boardwalk, and then also we have Songer Pavilion up at Lake Vermilion.
Excellent. And so if I'm somebody who's coming from Danville, about how long of a drive is it?
Well, it probably would take you about 20 to 30 minutes to get here. It's not that far, but we are out in the country.
Yeah, it's gorgeous out here. And so as we are talking today, we've got some historical type buildings behind us. We're taping this at the end of September. And so you all just had your Pioneer Days?
We had Pioneer Days and our Revolutionary War reenactment. And the Revolutionary War reenactment's gone on for quite a few years, but Pioneer Day is our original program. And I was just looking today when I was putting some stuff away, and I realized we've been doing it 45 years.
How special is that? So what's kind of the history, or can you tell us a little bit of the background of the buildings that surround us?
Yes, it's we at first decided that they needed a permanent building to do the Pioneer Days in, and so they decided they'd build a little cabin. Well, our staff actually built the cabin. They designed it and the staff built it. They would do a few logs when they had the time, and then they actually did the chimney and everything. So our maintenance staff, they're pretty talented, and they put that together. And then they decided this would be great to do school programming at, and eventually we added the barn. So they're not either one old buildings, but they're made like the old ones were.
So they look authentic. You could have
Yes.
fooled me, but so as you talk about educating students, we were actually able to catch a little bit of outdoor school today. Can you talk about how that program kind of started and how it flows?
Well, it's one of our favorite programs here at the Conservation District because we feel like we've been doing it so long, and it's an integral part of being a 4th or 5th grader in Vermilion County. It's been going on since maybe 72, something like that.
Wow.
And Marilyn Campbell, who was the first district naturalist, it was her idea. And the students that come, they actually have a book that they go with and go through, and they come for 4 days. we guess over 60,000 students have gone through outdoor school over the years.
Wow.
And it takes place at Kennecott and at Forest Glen in the spring and the fall.
That is a lot of young folks just getting hands-on in nature. You were telling me this is kind of maybe the first real outdoor taste that some of them get.
Yes, we may have kids from one of the rural schools around, and they're country kids, and they go outside all the time, or they've cooked a hot dog on a fire before. And then we'll get kids that are town kids or city kids from Danville, and they've never done anything like that. And so just the simple being outdoors for 4 days in a row is just such an important thing. And all the area teachers find it really important also. And we missed last year. Most of the students didn't get to come last year. So we're really happy to be back doing it.
And this can hopefully maybe breed some folks who, when they get older, maybe they want to get into nature themselves. Nature work.
Think that it really makes people learn about nature, and we have been doing this so long. We have lots of adults that say, I remember when I went to outdoor school. So that's just, it's so important for people to realize, and that it also, some of the kids will bring their parents back out.
They said, I spent the day at Forest Glen and we need to go back this weekend.
Exactly, and we tell them that. I sometimes say, your homework is to bring somebody from home back out here this weekend.
That's awesome. So talking about the family, what kind of opportunities recreationally are there for families, for singles, for people just wanting to check out the place?
Well, you know, the parks here have so much for people, and everything from just simply coming out on your own and going for a nice stroll or a walk. Everything, we have hikes that go from the accessible trail that is going to be dedicated next weekend that is paved with asphalt, nice and flat, great for wheelchairs, moms with strollers, things like that. You could walk it in high heels all the way down to our 11.5-mile backpack trail. And we have people from 3 or 4 states that come and do that. And usually it's a 2-day thing. They camp out in a remote area.
If I'm somebody who's wanting to take advantage or see what's upcoming at Forest Glen, do you all have a Facebook or a website? What's the best resource?
Probably you could go to our website, and you know, if you just put in Vermilion County Conservation District, will pop right up, and we've got a great calendar on there. And then we do have Facebook also, and they have always got updates on there about everything. And hopefully by the time everybody sees this, we'll be full force back into all of our events.
Can only hope.
Yes.
So as you were talking about the trails, how many trails-ish are in Forest Glen?
Oh, there's 6 or 7 different trails that are here. There are trails, a lot of our trails tend to be about a mile, maybe a mile and a half. And then we have the large River Ridge Backpack Trail that we were saying is big and exciting to go on.
Awesome. Is there any fishing or anything else out here for folks?
Yes. A lot of people will come out and they'll fish. Sometimes they fish off the banks at the Willow Creek Pond or some of the littler ponds. And sometimes they put in like a canoe or a kayak or something and go out into the pond and do some fishing or trolling motor fishing. And I've heard we have a lot of bass in a couple of the ponds, and bluegill are popular too. Yes, and you know, camping is big right now. Last year, during our pandemic, we had a lot of people that didn't want to go too many places, so they came camping, and we were full a lot. And we have tent camping and RV camping, and we also have a group campground.
Interesting. And as you were mentioning the kayaking and things of that nature, is there any swimming allowed here or no?
No swimming. We used to have a beach at Kennecott, but you know, people really started having pools at home, and we got away from that and more into people with kayaks. People love kayaks now, and they bring them out and put them in up at Kennecott and Lake Mingo and down here in our pond.
And people who aren't familiar with the area or with Forest Glen, do you guys rent out any of that equipment at all, or do I need to make sure I bring my own?
You need to bring your own
Okay.
with you, and you know, there's a nice little ramp to put it in, and at our largest pond.
And if I'm coming out here for the first time, is there a certain spot within Forest Glen that's maybe your favorite or you can't leave without seeing?
Well, there's a lot of them that I would say
Run through
are
'em.
my favorites. But one thing that we do have that's unique here is our tower.
Okay.
We have a 72-foot observation tower, and it's a lot like the fire towers that you would see out west. And you know, it's a beautiful time of year at any time that you go up there, because you're going to get above the trees and you're going to be able to see the tops of the trees and over towards the river. And you'll see the Vermilion River coming through there, and that's a great thing. So it's a very unique thing. Some of our trails that are very spectacular, I would say probably Big Woods Trail is the largest ravine system trail, and it goes through the beech maple forest, and it's beautiful. And we have some nature preserves in the park too.
Really?
So yes, there are 4 nature preserves, and most of them are quite a hike, except if you would go down Willow Creek Trail, you would come to Howard's Hollow Seep, named after the Howard family that lived here years ago, and actually one of their ancestors still works with us.
Wow.
And that's a great seep area, and there's a lot of rare plants that are in there, and it's right off the trail.
That sounds gorgeous.
It's beautiful there.
And are there any sort of conservation efforts that happen? I know that we're bringing in the kids to educate them, but are there any sort of cleanup days or ways that community members can give back to Forest Glen?
Well, we always are looking for volunteers. We use volunteers for our special events. We use volunteers to help us with like our gardens and things of that sort. Bluebird monitoring, they have volunteers for that. And for people that maybe don't want to get out in a group to do something, we have trail stewards, and they will turn in a list of the things that are, you know, maybe need repaired or whatever on the trail they hike each month. And that helps us tremendously.
A little bit of, hey, there's a tree down, this might need addressed.
Yes, we've got over 1,800 acres, and so sometimes we don't always get around to everything to see, and we might miss something, so they can let us know so we can get it cleaned up.
Takes a village.
It does.
And so, as you mentioned, the bluebird monitoring, is there a lot of opportunities for birding around here? I feel like earlier, did you
Yes.
mention eagles? Did I dream that?
Yes. Oh, yeah, we have eagles. We see so many birds here, and it is a destination for birders. We have a lot of birders from Indy and Chicago and St. Louis that come here, and I think we just get kind of accustomed and spoiled to how many birds are here. The pileated woodpeckers that live here, we see them commonly, we hear them all the time, and people will trek down and want to know where they should go, and we just go for a walk on one of our trails, and you'll probably get to at least hear one. So yeah, we have a lot of birds here, and we have a long history. We have bird charts that date back into the 70s of all the birds that were here and are still around.
And if I'm somebody who's maybe new to hearing about birding, what is a bird chart?
Oh, I guess yes, that's a very good question. Well, we over the years would write down each bird we saw. You get to put it on the list once, and usually you put the date and your initials by it, and it needs to be a confirmed sighting. And we would, Marilyn Campbell was here when she was here. She was a huge birder. So we have some bird charts that have 180, 190 different birds on them from back when she was birding, and much more of an expert than I could ever dream of being.
And I know driving through, we noticed a lot of different types of foliage and plant life. Is that something I'm sure you guys are kind of proud of?
Yes, we are. We are situated in a unique thing. We are on one side of the park we're more beech maple, and on the other side we're more oak hickory forest. And those two systems are meeting here, and so we see all kinds of plants and all the different trees from both of those kinds of forests. And then we also have our prairie. And the prairie, the Doris Westfall prairie, she created that prairie with seed from the area. And it is the only nature preserve in, I think, Illinois that is a man-made nature preserve. It's most are natural, of course.
And who was she?
She was a retired nurse who was from the area, was an Audubon member, and was very interested in prairies. And as she retired and she started working, they decided they would build a prairie here. And it took years, and when you are standing in the middle of it, you would think you were in the Grand Prairie 200 years ago.
And for our, again, our school kids that we were talking about earlier, you and I were talking off camera that as they're driving through, they can also notice a lot of the wildlife.
Yeah.
What kind of inhabits the park?
Well, sometimes they see more when they're still on the bus because they're not making so much noise as when they're walking through the trail. That we always tell them they have to sneak through the woods. It is really, this is a great place for deer. And every evening, just before dusk, we get lots of folks from the local towns will come out and they cruise through the park to watch the deer. And you know, some of them come every day if they can, and they drive slow and watch our deer, and they've seen little fawns grow up all season, and now they're looking to see if they see any of the bucks. But so besides deer though, we have coyotes and both kinds of foxes. We have lots of groundhogs this year. This has been a great year for groundhogs. We had the cicada emergence, and the young groundhogs, I didn't know that they were going to do this, but they were munching up some of those cicadas. They're actually a herbivore, but they were eating the cicadas this year.
Dang. So let's pivot a little bit and talk about, I think it's sugar bush, and then also the maple syrup that comes out of here.
That's another specialty. There aren't too many people in Illinois that produce maple syrup, and we're certainly not the biggest, but we are definitely one that invites a lot of people to come see it. So we don't just demonstrate it, we actually do produce maple syrup. Some years it might only be 30 or 35 gallons, but a couple years we've made over 150, and we tap around 500 trees. They have increased it a little bit, and that happens in February. And then in March we have traditionally a pancake and sausage dinner. And the sugar bush is actually the building where the syrup is made.
Okay.
And that's where the evaporator is, because the process is, it's the only thing I know where you aren't mixing things together to make something, you're taking something out. You get rid of the water, and what you're left with is maple syrup.
And so as we're in our last couple of minutes here, is there anything else that happens during the year that we didn't quite hit that people should maybe mark in their calendar for?
Gosh, you know, I would say they should watch our calendar and just pick out the things that they love. We do so many things. We go clear from retreats and bird watching events, and you could go out and go on a hike to the history events that occur here, and usually those larger things we do every year. And you know, Forest Glen, if we're not doing something, there's something great going on at Kennecott. We're all the same place, and we do a lot of programs at both places, and there's something to keep you busy at least once a month.
And if you're not familiar with the area, how far is the other?
The other parks?
Yes.
They are, well, Kennecott is just outside of Danville. It's on Henning Road, and it's just north of Kickapoo State Park. We're a county park, of course. And then Lake Vermilion has the boat dock, boat ramp area on it. And then at the end of Lake Vermilion, that's where Heron Boardwalk is. And it's wonderful. Even if you've got a family member in a wheelchair, it's wheelchair accessible. They could go out and go the whole boardwalk and go out into the lake on a boardwalk. Great bird watching place.
And that's so incredible too, to make sure that everybody can get a taste of the outdoors, because I know we typically think that it's kind of rugged for what you're doing. And so it's so nice that, like you said as well, the dedication of the new trail, that'd be fabulous. In just our last minute or so, is there anything coming in the future for Forest Glen you can think of?
Well, we do have some building that we're looking at. We're going to redo our nature center. We've had donations made for a new nature center. That is really exciting. And then the Gannett Center, where we hold our outdoor school classes, and that's where our maple syrup event is, and a lot of other things. That has gotten redone somewhat, and then they're going to build some new classrooms onto it here in the near future.
Very exciting. So definitely, if you're watching this, keep a close eye out on that, on the newest developments here. And we're going to take a quick break and transition into our sights and sounds of outdoor school. So don't go anywhere. You're watching Take a Hike on WEIU.
You may know about dangerous plants like poison ivy and poison oak, but what about the animals and insects that live in Illinois? Here are some critters, big and small, that you'll want to look out for. The biggest threats on the trail may come from the creatures we can't even see, like ticks, spiders, and insects that bite and sting. There are at least 15 species of ticks in Illinois, though you're only likely to encounter a handful. Since they attach themselves whenever they bite, they're efficient at carrying disease, so it's important to keep them away from your skin as much as possible. To prevent tick bites and tick-borne diseases, make sure you're checking yourself and others for ticks every couple of hours, as well as staying on trails and away from brush, wearing protective clothing like long-sleeve shirts and pants, and using bug spray that will protect against ticks. Of course, if you do spot a tick on your body, remove it right away and make sure to wash and disinfect the bite area. There are two venomous spiders in Illinois, and I bet you know what they are: the brown recluse and black widow. Both of their bites can be deadly, so it's important to get medical attention right away if you're bitten. There are 4 species of venomous snakes found in Illinois, and you'd be most likely to see the copperhead, as it's found in the southern 2/3 of the state of Illinois. However, experts say the risk of being bitten by one of these snakes is very low, since all 4 species are non-aggressive toward people. Researchers say central Illinois doesn't contain any habitats that would support small populations of bears, mountain lions, or wolves. Despite that, it's always smart to be prepared in case of a chance encounter with a large predator. The most important thing to remember is to stand your ground, respect the animal's space, and slowly back away.
There is this beautiful mushroom right here. This mushroom is called a chicken of the woods. It's one of the edible mushrooms. But we're not going to pick it and eat it. We're just going to enjoy looking at it. It would have to be cooked, of course. And should you just go out and pick a bunch of mushrooms and then eat them? No, some of them are poisonous. So we're just going to enjoy looking at it. So if you find something amazing, you can call us and we'll come look at it with you, okay? Okay. So walk, don't run.
Carefully.
Be careful.
Go mushroom hunting.
Mushroom hunting, you move slowly. Well, this one is edible and this one is not. So
So
there's,
you can eat this one?
it's a little past its prime, but
Well,
yeah.
there's lots of them. We could always pick them.
I know. They're actually a little old though.
Well, can I pick one?
No, we don't want to take any more of them. We'll leave them here for the animals.
Animals eat them?
Yeah.
While the WEIU crew didn't sample any chicken of the woods, we did have a fabulous time at Forest Glen Preserve. We hope you'll join us again next time on Take a Hike, the mini-series.
Take a Hike on WEIU is supported by Roll King, America's farm and home store, camping supplies, kayaks, fishing and pet supplies, and more. Find your store and more information regarding Roll King at rollking.com.